You, Robert, just refresh.
There we go. Should be up now. There we go. Should be. I had to mute myself so I don't hear myself echoing.
All right. Mine's not up yet. Oh, there, I just saw our heads. We're here. and and it looks funny because I have a monitor behind my laptop and the camera's on my laptop, so it looks like I'm
Uh,
looking up far out into the
Oh my gosh.
abyss.
Oh, how
nice.
funny.
Okay.
All right. Well, I've been so excited about this. We arranged it so long ago,
We
and
did.
I know, and I'm excited on a couple of different fronts. One is that even before we became friends, um, I was so interested in the work you were doing, and that was like the early days, early-ish days of art play, and so many um, things that you were writing and speaking about, and then I got to meet you and sit down and just get to know you a little bit, and so that was just really exciting on a professional level. And then here we are now, years later. We've done a couple group projects, book group projects ourselves together with Claire Mellentine. So that has been exciting. So, and of course, things to come that we're planning as well. So,
Yes.
you here and talk with us today is just such a pleasure. So thank you for doing that. So for anybody who isn't aware, I don't know how somebody isn't aware of who you are. That would just confuse me to no end. But for anybody who doesn't, I'll let you tell a little bit about yourself too. But Dr. Robert Jason Grant is our guest today, and he is the creator of Ot Play. And I'll let him talk a little bit more about what that is. And like I said, so many books and workbooks, and for parents and
Mhm.
for professionals, and just you name it, he's covering it. So either it has already or it's in the works for sure. uh, and so much more that you do. It was kind of making me think this morning when I was like, okay, so we could probably talk for hours and hours and hours. And how do we hone in on the most important things for people to know who you are, what you do, and tie that with digital play therapy? But I was thinking, just like for me, when people kind of try to pigeonhole me into only digital play therapy, there are a lot of other things that I do and speak about
Mhm.
and know about and have an experience in. And so anything that you want to share with us today, when we are here to eat it up. So if you tell people a little bit about yourself,
Yeah.
and then we can get going. And to the audience, I promise that I won't just talk all the time. I'll let Michael in sometimes.
Well, I gotta thank you, Dr. Stone, Michael, for inviting me. So it's exciting for me to get to talk, I guess, and share things amongst friends, especially,
Mhm.
right? Because we have known each other for a while, and um, I have been on, I guess, my own digital play journey. I like my digital play journey. I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit because I feel like it's very relatable. I love when I do a training on this topic because I feel like there's a significant amount of people in the audience that I'm like, yep, I'm the person that should be talking to you because I'm still kind of like you, or I was like you. Um, so I love it. I love just being a part of helping people better understand this topic, and especially in the world of play therapy. Of course, we know it goes way beyond that, though. So anyway, a bit about me is, yeah, I created this play therapy framework, if you will, called Alt Play, which really focuses on integrating play therapy theory and approaches to help best fit and meet the needs of neurodivergent children and their families. And have a private practice clinic that I run, the Alt Play Clinic. like you mentioned, Dr. Stone. Do you want me to call Dr. Stone on this or
No,
Jess?
yes,
Okay.
just
Because I have to work at calling you Dr. Stone. Like
Right.
it's not my normal language. Yeah, I've written books along the lines of these topics. We've done some editing of books together, trainings, currently serving on the board of directors for the Association for Play Therapy. So a lot of different things going on. And I have a life that I do sometimes.
on the board, he says. You just finished which role?
Chair of the board of directors.
Wow.
Yeah, just have to. I had to think a minute. Like, what was I doing? Yeah.
I mean, I've
Yeah.
been on the like nominations committee. I headed up the leadership board, things like that.
Uh-huh.
Leadership committee, but you're like, oh, I served. No, chair.
Yeah, it was a great time. Just finished my year of that, moving to the past chair position now. So I'll still be there for a little bit to terrorize and wreak havoc in the play therapy community.
That's where the fun comes in, isn't it?
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. And I have a feeling there are a lot more things that we're not listing that you have done and
Maybe.
been part of for sure. I am really interested, and Michael, I'm going to guess you are as well, really interested for you to share your journey into this digital play therapy realm.
Sure. Yeah, happy to. I'll try to keep it succinct. So when you and I met, Jess, and I didn't know a lot of people who were really involving technology in some way in their play therapy work. And so we kind of had an instant connection because we both were doing things like that, different kinds of things. But what had happened to me several years prior, not even sure when, probably need to try to figure this out sometime. I got introduced into technology coming into our therapy sessions with clients, my therapy sessions with clients, and into play therapy sessions with clients actually by the autistic community. I would get these autistic clients on my caseload, and they would be bringing this to me. They would be coming in with their tablet and they would want to show me something, or I would have a client who would communicate through their tablet. And I actually had a mom one time bring the tablet into me, the child's tablet, and say, would you find some sensory apps and download them on their tablet for them and then show them how to play them? Like, it was like I was going to do this whether I wanted to or not. I mean, that community was already technology savvy in a lot of ways, and how so many different things from a game to an educational app could be helpful in some way. And so that was how I got introduced into this can be done in therapy and used and helpful, etc.
I was also thinking functional apps too, like you were saying, ways to communicate. So
yeah.
That community, at least in what I've understood and researched, and you and I presented at a conference for the World Autism Congress once, and just understanding more about the community, that there are various levels of use and importance of technology within that community. That is is something that a lot of people might not understand.
Yeah, absolutely. It varies greatly. And for me, I was privy to kind of see all those different uses, if you will. If it was something like, a device, a tablet, or some other device being used for communication purposes, or if it was just a game, that was regulating for the child as they went into a lot of situations that were dysregulating, or a simulator game, something more educational, like getting ready to go, see the dentist. just to help kind of reduce anxiety. So many different things, looks to the benefits. And that was great for me because I think that's why I mean, that's really why I first started using an iPad was my choice, a tablet in my office. And I started out with just, it was there and it was like kind of at my desk or in my drawer, you know, so I would bring it out more as like a structured approach. Like I'm introducing it and we're going to do something on this that I think is helpful for you that I've seen from other clients that they're using, etc. And then it sort of just kind of grew naturally, organically, you know, as I learned more and expanded beyond just what I was introduced to. I started to learn more about just the play preferences across neurodivergence and neurotypical kids, that some of them really are drawn to this type of play. It's the type of play they want to do, that they gain from, that they learn from. And then gaining more comfort level education, knowledge, and how does this look through different training, some of yours, books you'd written, conversations that we've had that have just progressed over time. I went from having a tablet, you know, away out of sight and only brought out by me, you know, for structured interventions, which is okay. I mean, if that's your comfort level, right? That was my comfort level. To now, you know, 2 tablets. So we can go online and play games together. And my Nintendo Switch and my VR out in the open that kids see and know is there, and they can access and we can do something with. But that wasn't like overnight that it went from one to the other. It was definitely.
How long was your Quest in a box?
We're not going there. But it did finally come out. Yes.
I think that's also very relatable. It is okay. I know that there's some value here, and I'm not quite sure about it yet. So I took the leap and bought it, and now I need to feel more comfortable and confident and competent in the use before I integrate it into my playroom, which is completely appropriate. And then you sought out that so that you could feel more comfortable, and then you can put it out. So I brought it up kind of as a silly thing because I know Fiona has given you a hard time, and she's in the chat saying, you read my mind.
Yes.
But at the same time, also that this it's appropriate to have done that. And so it wasn't just
I mean, I feel like it's fun and it's good to be on a progression. You know, you don't have to know everything at once, and you can start at your comfort level. And I definitely feel like that went that way for me. I mean, I remember thinking, well, you know, I'm great at tablet work now. I mean, I've got a collection of apps like crazy, right? I can just pull up anything and we can do all these app games and app works, and I can show kids, they can put them on their home ones. And this is where I'm going to stop. You know, I'm never going to have a game station in my playroom. I remember thinking that, like, this is my level, right? And this is where I'm at. And then the next thing you know, I've got a Nintendo Switch in my office and I'm using it in different ways and different games. And then I'm like, okay, I mean, this is where I'm going to stop. I'm never going to have a VR, you know? And now I have a VR. I mean, I think, you know, it's fun to let yourself grow organically as well. So then you're always in a place where you feel confident about what you have in your office, in your playroom, how you're using it. You can explain that to someone else. And I think that's nice. And, you know, I do like these intro trainings that talk about this. And it's always fun because there's usually a lot of people in the training who don't have much experience. They're interested, but, you know, they really don't know what to do, how to do. And I love, sharing more about, my story with them. I think it makes them feel better because they're like, okay, this is good. I'm not a gamer. Let's be very honest. I was not a gamer as a child. I would follow my brother, who was much more of a gamer, to the arcade where he could spend all day. And I would play a couple rounds badly of Donkey Kong or Pac-Man. And then I was like, what else can I find here to do? And so it's just not how my brain works naturally. And so I can definitely relate, to those play therapists who show up like, I don't know about this, I don't know if I even know how to do this or if I can navigate this with kids. And I'm like, oh yeah, you can. Trust me, you can. If I can do this and be at this level with this, then I'm pretty sure anybody can.
Well, I want to piggyback on that because I am people, I think people often don't know this about me, which is why I wrote about and I also speak about from time to time the chicken lady story and how I even got into this because you actually are further ahead than I in the history, Robert, because when I went to the arcades with my friends, because for those younger folk, that's how we used to play these things
Yes, it
long
is.
ago. I didn't even venture into things like Donkey Kong or none of the machines, the arcade machines that you would play a video game on. Mm-mm. I was pinball. That's it.
Yes.
I didn't play any video games. My uncle had an Atari, one of the very first iterations of an Atari, and it was like, oh, and everybody came over and like sat around and we were watching people play like Asteroid and isn't that what it was called? Asteroid? I don't know, whatever the little Michael, do you know the little thing and it just had like a single dot come out and you would shoot things,
Yep.
whatever
It
it
sounds
was.
like that. Yes.
Yeah. That and like Pac-Man, the very, very, very beginning, horrible pixels, horrible graphics, horrible everything. And it was just amazing. And I was awful. And I preferred to sit and watch than I did to play because I wasn't good at it and I didn't
Yeah.
understand it and whatever. And so it's funny because I'm often the person in the audience that people will say, oh, something tech related, she'll know how to do it. And I'm like, I am literally an old person. I'm a play therapist and I have figured out that there's value in here.
Mhm.
So I have worked really hard to understand more about the technology, the hardware, the software, the games themselves. My clients laugh at me on a daily basis. I'm horrible at these things. And that's the thing is you don't have to be good at them in order to
Right.
use in therapy because it's not a gaming competition. That's not what we're
Right.
doing. But Michael on the other hand, so that's why Michael and I think for a number of reasons we pair together very well, but one of them is that he is a gamer. He has
Yes.
been for a very long time. He understands the mechanics and the
Mhm.
gameplay on a level that I think brings so much
Yeah.
to the conversation. But as far as experience and being a gamer, I am nowhere near any of that.
Well, we'll now share that another thing in
Yes.
common, and we'll let Michael be the gamer. I've seen pictures of Michael's office. I mean, I know it is like the design of a gamer. I know that much if I'm looking at that office.
What
But
do you have to say about that, Michael?
yeah,
I love it, and actually, one thing that I love that, Robert said that just speaks, I think, just so beautifully is the idea that, you can take your time with it. And I think that's the great way to have that natural progression because if it's something that, you don't fully understand, appreciate, and it's just kind of like thrown on you, you're not gonna properly like it and use it correctly and have an extension of using it as well. So I love that he mentioned that, and it makes me think about just how much it is important, as he shared with the beginning of his journey that they were bringing it in. And now, as we always say, Jess, it's just another tool. But now I think there's even going to be a lot of focus on helping that balance, that moderation. I'm not sure if you guys saw, there was a lawsuit in Canada, I believe, in the last few days, where parents are suing Epic Games because they say their kids don't want to get off Fortnite to take a shower and, you know, eat, and so they're suing, you know, Epic Games, the maker of Fortnite. But you know, I think that really speaks to how much this work is even going to be even more crucial for going forward. It's like every time we talk, Jess, I feel like we say like this is important. It's like something new happens in the next week or two, or like, okay, it's even more important.
Well, and we're probably not going to get off into that tangent today just because of time, but that leads into the conversations that I always back up from that and say, well, what is it about the family dynamic, the child's needs,
Yep.
what's going on that there is that much play, that there is as a rejection or an ignoring of the basic human functions like hygiene and eating or interacting or whatever. There,
Absolutely.
it's not just about the game. It's there are systems and dynamics at play that are have created that scenario. And
I think
to
that's
me,
the
that's
education piece that's so huge, that, you know, all of us
Mhm.
kind of bear that responsibility to help, you know, parents and really everyone understand that, you know, it's not the medium, the platform, the toy, whatever it is. It could even, you know, be someone is super addicted to just reading books 12 hours a day and doesn't want to take a shower, you know. It's and so
Mhm.
yeah, you're 100% right, is that I think that we all bear that responsibility to help educate and have them understand, you know, that there's something else that's going on, rather than the easy thing that we could just point to and blame.
and it could be something as, I'm going to put in air quotes, simple. It's not simple,
Right.
but as this is where they're getting their needs met.
Yes.
Mhm.
And whether that be because they can have identity and representation in that game in a way that they can't in other places, and that's what they're trying to figure it out, or how they're trying to be out in the world, and that's their safe place to do it. It could be that they have connections online that they don't have in their day-to-day physical space, and
Yes.
that, you know, what does it mean to the person who's using it as well. So all
Mhm.
of that. But anyway, that's a tangent I won't take us all on, but I just wanted to speak to it a little bit.
Hot topic tangent there. Yeah. The, you know what, I think that just like what you guys were saying, what gets lost obviously is that anytime you have, you know, something that's at that level, if that's really the level of what's happening, we don't know
Hmm.
based on the story.
Mhm.
You know, but if what is being reported is accurate, anytime you have something that's happening at that level, it's not about the tangible sort of manipulative that's involved. It's what is the deeper social, emotional, mental
Oh,
issues that are going on. Because that sort of tangible manipulative, whether it's a video game or something else, can just be interchanged
Yeah.
easily
hmm.
if you don't address what's the deeper kind of issue going on. Now, we know that, you know, as therapists, but I think sometimes it's when you don't understand that, it's easy just to blame what you see in front of you
Yep.
Mhm.
and simplify everything to that is the cause, when that is rarely really the cause of what's happening.
Absolutely.
That's just the outlet
Right.
for the cause. Yeah.
Could you just come on every other week with us and summarize what we just chit chat about into something
Yeah. I'll just summarize you.
very, very professional sounding, and that was fantastic. I need that more and more, because I'm not very good at
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
I do want to say before we move on to something else, and maybe it'll spark something, but I don't want to lose it. In the chat, Fiona was mentioning the glass breaking app that you
Yeah.
on Facebook recently,
Yeah.
and how much she loves it, and capital LOVE,
Yay.
loves it. Has been using it with different people. So I didn't want to lose that and not have you have that feedback, that even something what seems so simple to
Uh-huh.
post can make such a difference for people.
Yes, huge. I can share a story. I
Sure.
got introduced to this app that Fiona's referencing. It's called Crack and Break It. I got introduced to this app because I had a client who had this strong sensory seeking need for glass breaking. Just the sound of it, I think, was very appealing to him. And this was a child who diagnostically was autistic, had intellectual developmental disorder, had a chromosome disorder, and some medical conditions. And so high support needs, and sort of trying to discover, how to help him with his sensory differences and other needs was kind of a challenge. And the glass breaking had grown to a pretty problematic place. I mean, he would go anywhere in public. And if he saw glass, he'd try to break it, sometimes successfully. So you can imagine that this was problematic for lots of reasons.
Sounds expensive.
So I tried a lot of things, but nothing was really like satisfying him like the glass breaking. So at that time I was, into my app world, loved my tablet and all the apps. And I thought there's got to be an app, I'll try it. And I just searched and I found a few different things, but one of them was the Crack and Break It app. And I thought, this is really, really cool. I mean, this could really work because he had a tablet. He had a tablet that he actually carried with him for various purposes. So when he came in, I just introduced the app to him, and it was like instant. Oh, he loved that app. I mean, it's so well done. I mean, it simulates all different kinds of glass breaking really accurately. And so it was a hit. It worked. We downloaded it on his app, and his parents were able to take the tablet with him and have the app on whenever they went somewhere. And we pretty much went from almost a complete elimination of him trying to break real glass anywhere he went by being able to play that app.
Amazing.
And that was a great fit for him because he still was getting that sensory need met, but in a way that wasn't unsafe, that wasn't creating these problematic scenarios, and that wasn't massively stressing his parents out. So it was such a nice win for everybody. But that's how I actually got introduced to that app. I just was searching for something for this particular client and their sensory needs.
There's so many things that I love about that story. And I think the main thing is the process that you went through. I love the impact and the results for the client, hands down. But backing up from that just a little bit, I'm hearing the process that you went through as a clinician to say, okay, this is the constellation of what my client is bringing in to me, to the office. These are the needs of the family. What can I do in a traditional way that can, and by traditional I mean non-digital, and hopefully traditional won't mean non-digital anymore soon.
Right.
I'll have to figure out some other way to distinguish, but for right now, so what can I do that would be in our traditional repertoire that would meet those needs? Okay, I've done those. It doesn't seem to quite meet it. What might be possible? And you pulled out your iPad and started searching with what the client needs and what he or she was bringing into the room, and what the parents and the family needed on a practical level. So emotional, social, I want to say visceral, like also the practical, financial, all that stuff, bringing that together and started searching. And
Yeah.
the joke is always, well, there's an app for that because there are billions of them out there. And you found one. You probably had other things pop up too, but you then searched through what was available to find out, then tried it, and you were thinking, this might be it. And then you presented it, and it was it. Like that. Those are the moments, again, where your hair stands up on your arms. It's just so profound. And what an impact that had for this whole family.
Yes.
We can say it so simply. Yes. And we can say it so simply. But if any of us think, whether you're a parent or not, if you think every time, I don't want to live in a bubble, and I don't want to stay in my house all the time, and I want to go out into public, and I want to bring my child. Crazy ideas, right? But every time I go out into public with my child, I have all these other things that are going to come up. This fear, this maintenance. We can't just walk into a place or walk by a place casually, because all these things have to be going through the parent's head. That's very stressful for the parent. I'm imagining the kid is picking up on that. The kid is also having their own internal process about whatever it is their needs are in that moment. Right. All these things happening. And that would make going out so difficult for this family, all of the members. And then even places you like to go, and the people there are like, "Oh, is the kid gonna break something again?" Like, all of that stuff. And because you really were in tune with what the client brought in and what the client needed and the family, and then you sought out whatever you could to help meet those needs, and you found it. That is phenomenal. So we can say it so simply, but I know I'm personalizing this as a parent, and I'm thinking, you just changed our lives by doing that and being open to that and then implementing it. And I just round of applause, man. That is phenomenal.
Well, I love that story. And I have a lot of case example stories, I think, that are similar, where something in what we would call the technology or digital play world was our avenue for growth and change or problem solving or whatever, similar to that case. And it's not like I don't try other things as well, like even with him. But, those other things, he did not respond to them. I mean, they did not work for him. And you guys were talking earlier that you always say it's another tool, and absolutely it is. And right there is a good example of how if you understand it is another tool, then now you've got this other tool that may be the tool that works.
Right.
Whereas if you completely eliminate that tool from your tool bag, so to speak, are you just going to keep going on, maybe being frustrated, trying things, nothing working, this process drags out, maybe it gets worse. I mean, there was a period of time where that's kind of what it looked like for him in this situation. I mean, there were a lot of things broken, but before I figured out the app, and this was probably about I would say at least 6 to 8 years ago. So I was not as aware, trained, intuitive about digital play as I am now. Now, I probably would have moved a little more quickly on understanding he really responds to his tablet and his digital world. This all probably would have came to me much quicker, but back then I was still figuring it all out a little bit more. But I think that is so, so important that people do understand this is another tool. And the reason that it exists is because there are kids like my client who this is the tool that they're waiting for to help them. And these other tools, which are great tools and help other kids, are just not this child's tool.
Correct. Right. And that app, we're just talking about that particular app. There are, as you said, other cases, other stories. All of us here, people who are in the chat, like we could talk about case examples for hours and hours for sure, and different apps and for sure. But just to like try to narrow it down, this app also might not work for the next client who comes in and has a particular need, and that's okay. There might be a different app or a different game or a different something. There may also be something in your traditional toolbox that will work even better. Like the idea isn't that it's an end all be all, fix all, do all. It is another tool. It's another possibility. This same client may this need for breaking glass and the what he gets from that and the sensory experience and whatever it is, that may extinguish, and there may be another different something that will come up, and then it'll be a similar process. What is the need? What are his interests at the time? Is there something that combines those that then will be able to assist with this need, and then you pursue that? And that's
absolutely
great.
So thanks, Fiona. It's a good case to share. Good example.
The one thing I wanted to add on to that story and just what digital is, and just adding on to what Robert was saying, where they're in a safe environment that they can do this, and just to think, like, it always blows my mind every time I sit down with an iPad or like Nintendo Switch or VR, and just to think about like how we could be in that's how I first started using it. I was in a super small room inside of a school. So like I didn't have a lot of room for us to really be able to do anything, but having a digital platform that they were interested in, we could go anywhere. We could be basically playing a game where Zelda, and here we are taking down big mythical creatures, or we could be playing something that is more like Kirby or Super Smash Brothers. Like the idea that we could just be in such a small space physically, but digitally and more so engrossed in the play, we can be in any kind of scenario that we want. And I think that is such a huge point, especially when you're talking about the sensory experience, being able to have control over the environment and get this sensory need met without physically destroying anything or getting in trouble. And there's no cleanup. That's one of the best things too.
Yes. I mean, I think that tablet is probably one of the best inventions over the last several decades. I mean, you just talked about some of the reasons why. I mean, you can have it's almost endless what you could have on that tablet that you could carry in with you in this little very portable device into any room, space, in home, in a school setting, anywhere. And you could pull up anything from a traditional maybe game, right? Video game, to something that simulates creating a sand tray, to a sensory goo app that you can just manipulate, to some kind of cooperative game that you could play, or a traditional board game, or you can just bowl. You just do bowling. I mean, it's wild. The just unlimited amount of experience and application that you can just get on this one little device that you can carry with you anywhere. I mean, that's pretty incredible when you really think about it.
Right.
It's such a great resource for us. I feel like it's such a great resource for anyone who works with children, because you are going to be able to, if you're open, you are going to find that there are ways that you can use a tablet and it can help you in your work with kids if you're open to that experience. And that's because of just how great the device is and how much you can do with it.
And the creativity, I think, of the developers who are creating such a wide variety of apps to be available. And like I'm just going to bet money I probably don't have, that the people who created the break the glass app was not necessarily thinking about a kid who in therapy was going to have these needs. They have thought this is a, like they have those videos of people slicing the kinetic
the
hand,
ASMR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing they were kind of going on that type of interest that some humans have, and making this app. But the fact that it was available for this client who needed it at this time is amazing.
Yes.
I'm curious what you think. If you can identify, maybe you can't, and I'm moving, and I'm in this weird position because, as you can see, the sun is taking over, so I just keep moving back.
I can see you're starting to glow more.
Right? I'm trying to stay, so I'm sorry. I'm going to do like this, I'm trying really hard, but I'm curious, Robert, what you think, if you can identify either, not like the particular moment, but like was there something that happened or something you realized when it went from, oh, there might be something here, my clients are bringing it into me, I'm learning more, to, wow, this has therapeutic value?
Yeah.
Is there something in there you can identify that changed that for you?
Yeah, I mean, I have a very clear memory of this. It sounds like somebody's paying me to talk about tablets today, but it's just because that's where I started. I've had great therapeutic moments with my Switch and the VR, but it was with this tablet. It was with a client who brought their own tablet in, and this was a teen with high support needs who used his tablet to help communicate. He also used it to just try to help him kind of relax when he was stressed or in anxious situations. And he came in and he was needing some help with regulation, kind of anxiety reduction. I'm going to try to make a long story short. And so what happened was he brought his app in, and we tried a lot of things. I was trying a lot of different ideas to help with regulation and trying to help him learn these, see if he liked them, see if he responded to them, and if they worked. But he would always have his tablet and he'd usually want to charge it when he'd come in to see me. And then he'd use it sometimes for some communication things. And so I just remember thinking one day, and I don't even know why I got this thought. I'm not sure. I just remember thinking, I wonder if we can try like a deep breathing app. I mean, I've tried so many things with him and nothing seemed to really be clicking. And I had my own personal tablet, I should say, but I wasn't using one at work. And so I just searched and I found this app called Breathe to Relax. I'm actually not promoting it because I think it's in the scheme of deep breathing apps. When I look at it now, which I think it's still active, I think it seems quite boring. But it's like one I found, I didn't even know if I could find any at that time. And I downloaded it and I showed him.
There have been an explosion of those kinds of apps too. So
this was
then is not what's available now.
Right. And this was many years ago. And so I downloaded it and we went through it. And it's just a guided deep breathing. It takes you from a start. It's visual. It takes you from a start to a finish. All those elements I think did interest him. And this is another one of those crack and break it moments where he just connected with it. And usually I do find that a lot of, especially my neurodivergent kids, they're going to connect with it right away or they're not. It's not something they're going to grow into. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, yes, this speaks to me. I'm into it completely, or they're not interested. And he was just right there. He loved it. And so we started doing the start and end of all of our sessions. We would go through the breathe to relax, deep breathing exercise on his app. And then he started using it at home. And his parents would help him use it at home. We eventually got to where he'd use it on his own. Like he would start to feel upset and he would go find his tablet and he would take himself through his breathe to relax app. And his parents reported that it started to significantly decrease his sort of dysregulated, upset kind of meltdowns at home. And, you know, it's funny because I share these examples and it seems like, you know, wow, we got such great results by just introducing an app. And it's true. And it does work that way sometimes. As you mentioned earlier, Jess, I mean, it's not going to work that way every time for every child, but we're highlighting why this is an important tool to have in your toolbox because it does work like this for some kids. And especially these two examples I've shared were both, you know, long ago when I had tried many other things already. But that was the moment because I remember just sitting in the floor with him, doing the breathe to relax app and thinking, I need to see if other clients would benefit from this. And not necessarily breathe to relax, but like, is there other things here and other ways to use this tablet with other clients where this could help them like it's helping him? And I think that was the moment. It was not just a moment, but it was just like that experience with that client, I think was that moment for me where it shifted. And I started to then look at how I was going to utilize this in my therapy work.
It's like you have used the word frequently today, the word open. If you're open to it, being open to it as the therapist, and it sounds like not that you were close to it before. Obviously, he brought it in. You guys were already working on it, but there was like another level of open therapeutic that happened for you in that interaction, and it makes me think of. I had somebody contact me recently for supervision, and it's actually somebody who has worked with you as well, Robert, and only needs a couple hours until they can get their certification and all of these things, and really just wanted to learn a little bit more about digital. Wasn't using it, hadn't been open to it before. I'm just guessing that part of her work with you might have sparked some of that openness. And so we met once, and I sent her off with some homework to do over the week, and she came back this week with one of the most profound things that she explained to me was, I asked my clients, I spoke with them, I communicated with them, I joined in these conversations with them, and one client, she said, you want to talk about that? and just lit up like she couldn't even believe it, and she said, why have I not been doing this all along?
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, why haven't you? I didn't say that.
Yeah.
But you know, you could just see, I'm asking you your moment, and I'm thinking for her, that was her moment. Like, she said, what? Why? Because she works with both neurodivergent and neurotypical kids, and with both groups just had a really profound experience in a very short amount of time. It was just 1 week between each supervision meeting, and she was so excited to see the excitement and interest and connection about that she was having with these clients. And it was really like, it was very heartwarming for me, because I kind of got to witness that moment.
Yeah, it will. And I do want to say, for the record, for anybody watching, I do have permission to talk about these cases that I've talked about. I've shared them in other places and written about them, and the parents are really gracious in that way. They get it. But I also do change some of the details also when I share as well, just so people know, for the record, anyone watching, right? I'm not just talking about a bunch of clients without their permission, or making sure their real information is protected. So absolutely. I don't know how much time we have, but I have something else I think I would add in here.
Sure.
This is a little more personal about me, and kind of goes along with what we were talking about, where, you know, you kind of grow into this, and also it's okay if it's like not something that you've necessarily even been into before personally, right? One of the things that sometimes is a challenge for me, especially if we're in, you know, a type of game where there's a lot of fast moving action, or a lot going on the screen. Fortnite would be an example of this. Some Roblox games, if there's a lot happening and there's a lot of ability to turn yourself around quickly, and I mean, visually, I have sensory issues. We've talked about this before, I think, Jess. And so if there's a lot of movement in my visual, it really kind of starts to unsettle me, dysregulate me. And so, like, I can't like really play those games because I can't watch that screen. It's too much movement. And I realized that's probably what was probably happened to me as a kid, and nobody knew it, which was some of the reasons why I probably played a couple rounds of Donkey Kong and then bailed on some of the games, which makes sense to me now as an adult. I didn't know as a child. And even something like Beat Saber on the VR, you know, is so good for some of my kids. I mean, it's such a good regulation game for them. But when I cast it, I mean, I can't like directly watch them. I have to like tune in every little bit because all of that coming at the screen of my visual, you know, it's just kind of dysregulating for me personally, just with my sensory differences. So there's that piece, but we're talking about the variety. We're talking about the vastness of the tools you have at your hands with digital play. There are other things that are like, wow. I mean, this was kind of built for me. One is Animal Crossing. I mean, when I discovered that game, I thought they made it for me. I mean, it does the opposite, you know, for me from a sensory standpoint as those other games. And I love playing it myself and introducing it to clients, and certainly jump in there and play it with them. And so I really think that, and I've heard you talk about this before, Jess, you'll say it, but you've said it better than now. I'm going to paraphrase you saying it now. But I think people kind of get hung up on maybe the idea that if you say technology play or digital play, that I think that you just mean playing Fortnite. I mean, I really think some people have that idea, and they don't understand the massive variance that is under this umbrella of digital play therapy, the tools that are under that tool umbrella that are available to people. I just can't imagine that there is a therapist out there that could not find a game, an app, something in technology form on some device that would not be useful for some client. I just can't even imagine it because of the vastness of options that are available.
Absolutely. I do have so many things to say to so much of what you just said, and we only have 4 minutes left. So
Oh
that's
no.
cliffhanger.
Yes. Part 2.
Right? Oh, absolutely. I'm going to be knocking on your door for that for sure.
Mhm.
But it's just something to pull out of what you said is one, it is important that we as therapists, it's not, if you're not particularly digital savvy, if this isn't some natural language to you, it doesn't mean you have to put aside your own self, and the knowledge you have of yourself, and just do it anyway. It's understanding, and I wrote about this quite a bit in a new book, and I'm not like trying to promote it. We've talked about that on here before. Like, you really don't make much from books, but that's not the point. But I did go into quite a deep dive of the idea of ourself, of others, of what our own needs are, of understanding that about ourselves, and the importance of that in the therapeutic process and in the room. I agree with you. Like, there's a program that is supposed to be in VR. It's like so talked about. It's out there all over the place, and it's supposed to be a relaxation app and a guided meditation, and it dysregulates me like nobody's business. There is nothing relaxing about that program whatsoever. I don't even like to look at it. That's how much. So I'm not going to use that personally. If a client comes in and they say this program has worked for me, it's amazing. One, I'm going to engage in what's called level 1 digital play therapy. I'm going to engage in talking with them about it. I want to know why it works for them, what's important, all those kinds of things. If they want to play it and use it with me so that I can witness the parts and the things and all of that, then I'm going to do my best to engage in that. Just like you said, I might have to look away, or I might have to do some deep breathing of my own or whatever. But my focus is, what does this mean to them? Not on myself, but I'm acknowledging this is not my jam for sure. And and the things about it that are difficult. Another piece of that is, if I can identify with the client or on my own what components are speaking to that client, we very well might be able to find a different program that doesn't send me off the edge of the cliff.
Right.
And so it's knowing your client, knowing, as I said earlier, what they bring into the room, what their needs are, what their family's needs are, if that's part of the equation, their outside world, their school, their whatever activities, what is going on in all of that, what is available, what is the understanding you have of yourself, how all that comes together. I mean, that's what we do, whether it's digital or not. And I really have appreciated the conversation today, because I think it sparks, and I hope for whoever listens, it's going to spark a lot of thoughts in a lot of different directions. And I just really thank you for coming and giving us a whole bunch of sparks.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you guys too for doing this and putting this information out there so people can, access it easily, learn more. That's huge. And thanks for inviting me.
Of course.
So like that, we'll be knocking on the door again to do another part of this for sure.
Right.
And this will be put up on YouTube, and we will include the link that you sent to us. And if you think of any others that you would like to add on there, any of your books that you think would be helpful for people, which I would say all of them, of course, then just send us whatever you'd like us to put on there, so that people can find you, people can learn more about what you do and what you have put out there in the world. And I'm so happy to see you, and we will talk again soon.
Yay, sounds good. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks.